Hello and welcome to today's edition of Talking to a Biologist. Today we're with Dr. Michelle Piercy-Normore in the Department of Biological Sciences here at the University of Manitoba. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So in your hand you have an interesting looking organism. Can you tell the students a little bit about what that is and where it came from?
Well, this is a lichen, and a lichen is a combination of a fungus and an alga growing together. And lichens are very common all over the world in every ecosystem except for in the oceans. This lichen came from a place up near Churchill called Wapusk National Park, and this is one of the reindeer lichens, or caribou lichens. And the caribou feed on this during the winter months. Reindeer also feed on it, but reindeer are found in Europe and caribou in North America.
It looks fairly dry. Is there much nutrition in that?
There are a lot of sugars in this. Not many proteins, but a lot of sugars, and that's what sustains the caribou over the winter months, the high sugar content.
So you're obviously interested in studying lichens. How did you first get involved, and what first drove you to be interested in lichens and that particular life form?
It was the fungi that I was interested in, and I did a lot of work with fungi that form diseases on plants, so in plant pathology. And that's where my background was. But I was interested in the interactions of the fungi with other organisms. So fungi with plants, fungi with insects, and now fungi with algae. And that's how I got interested in lichens.
So where did you first do your undergraduate? Was it your undergraduate education that got you involved in fungi, or was it even before that?
My undergraduate was a general biology degree. My graduate work was, first of all, work with insects and plants. And then my PhD was on fungi and plants and insects, all three of them. And then my postdocs were on fungi and algae in lichens.
So if I could just summarize, I think much of your interest in biology is about interactions between different groups of organisms. Why is it that you find the interactions so much interesting? You know, with lots of biologists today very focused in, and they look at just one organism or just one set of genes in some cases. What is it about the interactions that you found so fascinating?
Well, with the interactions is what makes the world move around. It's really what everything is all about, is the interactions, whether it's an interaction in a lichen or an interaction in an ecosystem between an animal that's feeding on a plant. It's all about interactions. And that's why I love interactions.
So we love the interactions. So if you were going to talk to a student today, and you're talking to a whole bunch of them, and just getting interested in biology, what general advice would you give to a first-year biology student who maybe has taken walks in the woods and found lichens interesting and found fungi interesting and done all those sorts of things? What sort of advice would you have for that student?
Bring them back and ask the instructor about the lichen or the plant or whatever it is you find. Be curious and explore.
So that would be your general advice for a first-year student, to be curious and explore the world around them?
Definitely, yeah.
All right, and we're here today in your lab. Just tell me a little bit about your research lab and your research program here at the U of M. I see a number of busy graduate students.
Well, I have students working on a variety of aspects, mostly dealing with lichens or some aspect of lichens. I do have one student who is working with algae, and he's looking at some of the antioxidants that are produced by algae. But my students who work on lichens, one student I have who's works on the secondary compounds in lichens, and these secondary compounds they're compounds that are very similar to things like penicillin, which most people are familiar with, or erythromycin, the common antibiotics. The lichen fungi will produce antibacterial compounds in a similar pathway to those, and so I have some students working on that aspect of lichens. Another student is working on a rare species of lichen, and a species that may be considered to be at risk, not to extinction, but certainly becoming rare, especially with the increasing pollution levels.
All right. Just one last question before I let you go. All of these first-year biology students are, of course, learning about what a species is and how they're unique identifiers. How do we define lichens if they're made up of two different species? Do they get a species name as well?
The lichen does have a species name. The species name of the lichen is the same as the fungal species name. The alga that makes up the lichen is a completely different classification system, but it's the fungus. The fungus is has the same name as the lichen.
So the fungus has the same name as the lichen. Does the same fungus always have the same algae in it?
No, they share the algae. They swap the algae, depending on the environment they're in, depending on the environmental conditions, maybe the amount of light that's coming in to where the lichen is growing. The fungi will swap the algae to use different algae depending on the conditions they're growing in.
All right, well, that's leading me to one last question. Do any of the algae genomes ever cross over into the lichen or the fungus genome? Just like the was the green slug of fame in the last few years?
Well, there's been some theory on that, and there's been speculation that there have been some algal genes cross into the fungal genome, but that has not been very clearly demonstrated. So I have to say no, but it's still just a theory.
All right. Thank you very much, and we'll continue now with our biology lecture. Thank you very much.